Good morning. Today's video, I'm going to be working on finding the x and the y intercepts from tables. So, I'm just going to start by writing an example. X and y. So the x values are negative 28, negative 21, and negative 14. When it's negative 28, y is negative 54. When it's 21, y is 40. And when it's negative 14, y is 26. So the question is, what is the x-intercept? What is the y-intercept? A y-intercept is a point on the line that is on the y-axis. So basically, the y-intercept means where my line cuts through, intersects the y-axis. And at that point, the x value is going to be 0. So let's see how that happens quickly. I have this little, let's say, this is my y, and this is my x. Alright, let's talk about this point. This is my, let's say, y-intercept. Let's make a line, let's make a y-intercept, and let's make an x-intercept. If this is my y-intercept, oops, okay, this is my y-intercept, and this is my x-intercept. Right at this point, the value of x is 0. There is no right to the left movement. I'm right on the y-axis. And right at this point, on the x-axis, y equals 0. So I need to figure out where y equals to 0 to find my x-intercept. And I have to find where x equals to 0 to find my y-intercept. So how do I do that? I need to look at the rate of changes on both x and y. So what's happening over here? Negative 28 to negative 21. I'm adding a 7. Same thing. I'm adding a 7. While I'm adding a 7 to the x for the first move, I'm adding a 14. All right, and from 40 to 26, I'm adding another 14. So every time I add a 7 to the x, I'm adding a 14 to the y. How long will it take me to get to 0 on the x? If I add another 7, I'm going to end up with negative 7. If I had another 7, I'm going to add my 0. So twice. If I add another 14, I'm going to end up with negative 12. And if I add another 14, I'm going to end up with positive 2. So positive 2 is my y-intercept, because that's the value I find for the x equals 0. So y-intercept equals 0, 2. Next, we have the intercepts from the equations. So let's write up an equation. Y equals negative 2x minus 21. We just mentioned, it's going to ask me, by the way, the x-intercept coordinates and the y-intercept coordinates, the question. So we just said what was happening to the x value when I'm talking about the y-intercept. Yep, x equals 0. And when I'm talking about the x-intercept, y equals 0. So I'm going to plug in these numbers, and I'm going to solve for the other variable accordingly. So let's find the x-intercept. If y equals 0, what's my x going to be? Well, 0 equals negative 2x minus 21. Add 21 to each side. 21 equals negative 2x. Divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. And x will equal to negative 21 over 2. And that's it. Negative 21 over 2. Now let's do the y-intercept. For y-intercept, x equals 0. So, y equals negative 2 times 0 minus 21. Cancelled. Y equals negative 21 is your answer. So, negative 21, you're right. So because it's asking me to solve the questions in the coordinates, I'm writing my x-intercept and the y-intercept in the coordinates form, x and the y. When x is negative 21 over 2 and the y is 0, that's my x-intercept. When y is negative 21 and the x is 0, that's my y-intercept. Okay? Perfect. So, what it's asking me is x and the y-intercepts from the graph. So, all I need to look at is where my line is crossing the x-intercept and the y-intercept. And that's this point. This point is, my x is 125 because it's going 100 to 150. There's 2 squares in between, so half of it must be 125, where y is 0. And my y-intercept, my x is 0, and my y is 275. So you would be writing 0, 275, and 125 and 0, because those are the 2 points that my line is crossing x and the y axis.